योगेन चित्तस्य पदेन वाचाम् मलं शरीरस्य च वैद्यकेन योपाकरोत्तं प्रवरं मुनीनां पतञ्जलिं प्राञ्जलिरानतोऽस्मि आबाहुपुरुषाकारं शङ्खचक्रासिधारिणं सहस्रशिरसं श्वेतं प्रणमामि पतञ्जलिम्। गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णुर्गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुः साक्षात् परब्रह्म तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। हरिः Om. So last time we finished the sutra and the bhashya 2.30, which was ahimsa satya steya brahmacharya parigraha yamaha, where the yamas were enumerated, and then we looked at a detailed bhashya which covered each of the yamas. Today we move next to 2.31, where Vyasa begins by saying Tetu, which means and about these, however, says Vyasa, or it could also be taken as about these also. Then comes the sutra that says Jati Desha Kala Samayanavachinnaha Sarvabhauma Mahavratam. So Jati Desha Kala Samayaha Taihi Anavachinnaha Sarvabhaumaha Mahavratam. That is how the sutra will be split. So Anavachinna means unconditioned by. So the practice of yamas which is not conditioned by either jati. Jati refers to a group of people engaged in similar activities. So for example, the potter, the fisherman, and so on. So untouched by jati, unconditioned by jati, unconditioned by desha and kala, so by location, by time or period. Then samaya. Samaya refers to the period of time, the achara parampara. So for example, the 1980s, or as we say, the Victorian age, and so on. So at each time, the society has a certain way of conduct, a certain ethos, certain set of values, and so on. So that is referred to by the term samaya. Jati desha kala samaya anavachinnaha, unconditioned by. Sarvabhaumaha, which means sarvasu bhumisu vidyate iti. So in all planes, in all pertaining to all things, all matters. So that is Sarvabhaumaha, Mahavratam. In that case, they are Mahavratas. So as we saw, the yama, the adopting of a certain yama like ahimsa and so on, we had already introduced the concept of vrata. It is a certain kind of resolution made by the practitioner, and where Vyasa had quoted स खलु अयं ब्राह्मणः यथा यथा व्रतानि बहूनि समादिच्छते तथा तथा प्रमादकृतेभ्यो हिंसा निदानेभ्यो निवर्तमानः तामेव अवधातरूपाम् अहिंसां करोति. So this is something we had seen as a quotation by Vyasa as something that is normally said, where it was said that as this person, this Brahmana, adopts more and more vratas of various kinds, then he moves away from the accidental doing of himsa or things that are against the yamas. So even the accidental things go away, and the ahimsa and the yamas become more and more purified, more and more refined. So those were the vratas. So in this case, what is being referred to is the Mahavratam. So what is Mahavratam? Mahavratam is a Vratam that does not have any conditioning at all, neither of jati, nor of desha, nor kala, nor samaya, completely unconditioned by all of these, and sarvabhauma. It is not saying only with respect to this, only with respect to that, and so on. It pertains to all things at all times and all planes. So that is sarvabhauma. Then it is said to be Mahavratam, says Patanjali in his sutra here, 2.31.
So this is the sutra again, which proves Patanjali's forensic skills in defining something. Like lawmakers, they use precise words so that no loopholes are available. This is similarly a definition. That is one thing. And secondly, he has so skillfully defined the great vow called Mahavratam that in same words, the Anuvratas too stands defined. So the sutra is Jati Deshaka Samaya Anavachinna Sarvabhauma Mahavratam. And then therefore it can be easily deduced or extrapolated as to what is Anuvrata, which is Jati Desha Kala Samaya Avachinna. So once it becomes avachinna by these four factors, it becomes anuvrata. And then therefore it won't be sarvabhauma. So he has so defined this Mahavratam, great vow, that even anuvrata gets defined, and it is absolutely foolproof sutra. So Vyasa is going to explain what is jati, what is desha, what is kala, what is samaya. And in Mahavrata, it is not violated by jati, that is the class or caste, etc. Desha means region. Whatever is the region, wherever one is, the vrata is intact. And kala is a time, and samaya is the situation that one finds in life. Suppose we take a vow, why it is violated or why is it that we cannot be in it? It is because of these factors. One is the dimension of jati, the other one is dimension of desha, and then kala and situation, the samaya. So it's a marvelous definition in barest few words, and at the same time the anuvrata also stands defined. It is so important because we are going to, if at all, take up anuvratas. We will be only in anuvrata. We can be only in anuvrata. And therefore we also need to know what is an anuvrata. And of course, Vyasa casts light on it, which we will come across it when we take the Bhashya. Okay.
Now Vyasa chooses to illustrate all these points with ahimsa as an example. Since ahimsa, we have seen, is seen as the foremost, and all the yamas and niyamas that follow are tanmulaka, and as we had seen, they have ahimsa as the root, and they are all done for the refinement of this ahimsa. So Vyasa says, Tatra ahimsa jati avachinna matsya bandhakasya matsyeshu eva nanyatra himsa. So he is giving an example of what would be a yama look like, or what would ahimsa look like if it were conditioned by jati. So the example here is, if a matsya bandhaka, that is a fisherman, he may say that it is his vrata that he will have ahimsa everywhere except for except with respect to fish, because that is as part of his jati, that is what he does, that is his job. So matsyeshu eva, only with matsya, that is fish, and nowhere else. So that would be the vrata of a fisherman, which, because it is conditioned by jati, does not fit into the definition of mahavrata. Saiva deshavachinna na tirthe hanishyami iti. So now let us, Vyasa is again teaching us about what is deshavachinna, with the example that a desha avachinna yama or vrata will be that I will not cause violence in Tirtha Kshetra. Tirtha Kshetra are the holy spots. So there are certain holy regions like Shakti Pita and so on, or even one may say that temples and its vicinity. So Tirthe, one will not, I will not engage in violence, and that is the vrata. So that is a deshavachinna. So he allows himself to have violence elsewhere, but definitely not in the Tirtha, which is a yama, which has its merits, but it is conditioned by desha, and therefore it is not a mahavratam. So it is a vrata, but not a mahavrata. Now the next is the kala. Saiva kalavachinna. So now this is ahimsa conditioned by time. Sa eva kalavachinna na chaturdashyam na punye ahani hanishyami iti. So this is, I will not cause violence in certain days, like Chaturdashi and so on, which are considered religiously special days, where one desist from behavior that may not be sanctioned, or one engages in vratas and tapas, or maybe fasting and so on, as a means of self-purification. So on such days like Chaturdashi or any other Shubhadinam, Punye Ahani means on a Shubhadinam, I will not engage in any kind of himsa. So that is again a vrata, but it is a kalavachinna vrata, because it is a vrata that to be done, or the resolution or the resolve is conditioned by time. On such and such types of days, that vrata is practiced. Again, sa eva tribihi uparatasya samayavachinna deva brahmanarthe nanyata hanishyami iti. So here the samaya avachinna, which refer to the achara parampara, it says, okay, I may engage in certain violence or harm if it is for either for the purpose of a deity or for a brahmana, but not for anywhere else, not for anything else. So that this may refer to certain Vedic practices, and there are certain yajna, sacrifices, which involve either sacrificing of live animals or maybe just gathering a lot of material, which itself, as we have seen, may involve a certain type of himsa, because there is a collection of dravya that needs to be done. So here it is seen that samayavachinna means this being done in different forms of himsa may be engaged into, but it is for a deva, for a deity, or for a brahmana. In that case, I may allow myself to do it, but nowhere else. So again, that becomes a vrata, but that does not become a mahavratam, because it is samaya avachinna. So the example another that is given is yatha cha kshatriyanam yuddha eva himsa nanyatra iti. So the kshatriya may say that only on the battlefield I engage in himsa and nowhere else. So this is another example given by Vyasa again to illustrate that this can again be a vrata, and also a great vrata for the kshatriya, but from the terminology of Yoga Shastra, it cannot be called a mahavrata, because it is still conditioned. It is jati, desha, kala, samaya, avachinna, and it is not sarvabhauma. So Vyasa is giving these examples to illustrate that concept. So evihi jati, desha, kala, samayaihi anavachinna ahimsadayah sarvatha eva paripalaniyaha. So now, says Vyasa, all these kinds of vratas are to be practiced Paripalaniyam. That is a word that is difficult to translate, but basically the vratas are to be protected and nourished. Will be the appropriate translation. So it is not just practice. The vrata, the resolve, is to be protected, guarded, and nourished. That is paripalanam. So paripalaniyaha. In what way? Jati, desha, kala, samayaihi anavachinna. So unconditioned by jati, desha, kala, or samaya. And ahimsadayaha. So even though the example given was with respect to ahimsa, it applies to the other vratas, ahimsa, satyasteya, and so on. Ahimsadayaha sarvatha eva, in all manner it has to be paripalanam. So it has to be protected, nourished, and practiced to become a mahavratam for a yogi who is intent in being the master of yamaniyamas, or who is intent on having a complete anushtanam of the yamaniyamas. Again, the master word is slightly odd, so it is more about the perfection in anushtanam, complete anushtanam. So continues Vyasa with his last sentence of the Bhashya. He says, Sarva bhumishu, sarva vishayeshu, sarvatha eva avidita vyabhicharaha sarvabhauma mahavratam ityuchyate. So sarva bhumishu, in all planes of life, in all planes of existence, at all levels of how we may perceive this, in all of that, sarva vishayeshu, with respect to all kinds of things, sarvatha eva, in all manner, avidita vyabhicharaha, means skhalana rahitam, without any lapse, without any accidental breaking of the vratam, without any lapse. Avidita vyabhichara. So the vyabhichara is unknown, unseen. So there is no lapse happening. Avidita vyabhicharaha sarvabhauma mahavratam. So this is known as a sarvabhauma mahavratam. So technically, the term being defined is not just mahavratam. It is qualified by sarvabhauma mahavratam. So the sarvabhauma mahavratam is what is being illustrated. And he says, Sarvabhauma Mahavratam Ityuchyate. It is known as that. And here Vyasa is sort of through an example of ahimsa, he is elaborating on Patanjali's use of definition of the term Sarvabhauma Mahavratam. So as we had seen in other places also, because we have seen Yoganga Anushthanat Ashuddhishaye Jnanadipti Aviveka Khyatehe, or even we have seen with respect to in the samapatti, nirvichara samapatti, to what extent can it go to sukshma, sukshmatara, and the greatest level of sukshma. So if you see in the yoga shastra so far, the extent of anything is the span of it is described in various places. So here the span of the vratas, the span of the yamaniyamas has been given by taking it right from the beginning, where in the previous sutra, an illustration of yatha yatha ayam brahmanaha, which means it allows for somebody to take the vrata step by step. As he gains proficiency, you can take smaller and smaller vratas, and they will purify further. And as it was said last time, that also reduces the accidental lapse from the vratas. Just by doing this, the accidental lapse from the resolve is prevented just by adopting different types of vratas. So that is why it is said bahuni vratani, different types of vratas. Samaditsate, there is a desire to adopt. So again, the very word samaditsate, it is not just about adopting, there is a desire to adopt. So that is coming organically in the yogi, and that is leading to refinement. So this is a practice that builds upon itself to make the yogi more and more purified. So then the natural question would be, to what extent can this go? How far does this go? That is what is answered by the Sutra 2.31, which says the ultimate level of the vrata is a sarvabhauma mahavratam. And then what is that? It is the jati desha kala samayana vachinnaha. So that is the purpose of this sutra. And Vyasa chooses to illustrate it by giving various examples of what is not a Sarvabhauma Mahavratam, because it may be conditioned by Jati, by Kala, by Samaya and Desha and so on. So that is what this sutra is about.
So as I said, the sutra is directly defining with its purport, overt purport, the Mahavratam, but it is also by implication defining Anuvrata. And Vyasa's commentary makes it clear that it is defining both Anuvrata and Mahavrata. Now, usually when we take vow, usually we say, I will never ever do it, I will never once again do it. But our vows are violated because of different situations, the conditions that come up. We are not aware of this when we resolve to be doing something for all the time and never ever will be doing something. But we do not foresee the conditions, and therefore we have to violate it. The vows are violated, or we have to violate it. So this is how the violation takes place in Anuvrata. But still, the Anuvrata is the way to go about. So Vyasa starts explaining both. In the beginning, he starts describing Anuvrata form, because that is how we can understand. Otherwise, we can just make a blanket statement, nowhere, never, ever, himsa committed, asatya committed, etc., and that is Mahavrata. But in practicality of it, we come across so many problems, difficulties, or our incapabilities or incapacities that we cannot be practicing the vows, although we have decided to take up a vow. So, he starts illustrating with the help of ahimsa for us to understand what is Anuvrata and then what is Mahavrata. And then same has to be applied to Satya, Asteya, Brahmacharya, Aparigraha as well. And there are, of course, Niyamas as well. So, Tatra Ahimsa Jatyavachinna. What is limited by Jati? That somebody is a fisherman. Then if somebody is a fisherman by vocation, by profession, then naturally he would be catching fish. And Himsa will be committed there. So, he can have a vow that nothing apart from fish, that his ahimsa vrata will be violated. It is not that he has license to do himsa elsewhere. He has earnestly decided to be in ahimsa, adhere to ahimsa, be in ahimsa, but then it would be violated because he happens to be a fisherman. So that's how the violation takes place. It is not that he is going to practice himsa elsewhere. Because we have to understand the psychodynamics of taking vows. So we never take a vow that I will only practice in this limited condition and elsewhere I am free to do the opposite or free to violate. No, the vrata is violated. There is a violation of vrata because of jati, such as the case of a fisherman. Then Desha avachinna. So he says, na hanishyami. So the vow is saying that in Tirtha Kshetra, in Divya Deshas, in places of pilgrimage, or in vicinity of shrines, etc., it is not violated. Then it naturally gets violated outside that limitation. It's not that he violates it and he has freedom to violate it. It gets violated. That is how it has to be understood here. So, Desha means, like, we also used to, at least on this day, it is my birthday, please don't get wild with me and angry with me. So, if we are celebrating somebody's birthday, on that day at least, we do not inimically behave with that person. So this happens in our life also, that we are good. We are good. Why? It is auspicious day or it is a festival day. So at least on festival day, we don't engage ourselves in a quarrel or any kind of fight. But then it gets violated. Although we don't want to be fighting, but then it happens that in conditions and situations in life come that we have to. It naturally uh, opens out for us not to be friendly, etc. It happens. Not that one is not friendly elsewhere. We can't take such a vow. That's not the psychodynamics of taking vows. Kalavachina means auspicious days, as I just now told you. Chaturdasham. Chaturdashi is said to be an auspicious day. So, Kalavachina na Chaturdasham na punne hani hanishamiti. So, it is not violated on auspicious days. And here, let me tell you that the unique aspect in our culture of life, what is called as Hindu culture of life, many times there is a question, why Hindus have so many festivals coming in a year? It is because we can practice these things. We are given a culture. So suppose it is an auspicious day, we are naturally not inclined to be vicious or subhuman in tendency. So the festivals try to, or these occasions, give us a platform to be on a higher plane. This is how the Anubratas can be practiced in our culture. It gives so many opportunities for you. Sri Ramanavami, Sri Krishnashtami, Mahashivaratri, Datta Jayanti, Narasimha Jayanti, so many Deepavali. So many occasions are available in our culture that we have a different atmosphere on those days. And in those atmospheres, we can really be virtuous. We can definitely be little above even the human plane of conduct. And that is why we have so many festivals in our culture. The festivals are not there to just give you holidays. It is these days that the holiday has come up. Holiday concept has come up because of people in our profession and some service, etc., etc. So this is a wonderful gift of our culture, age-long culture, ageless culture, that we are given certain opportunities whereby our consciousness climbs up on a higher rung. And therefore, we can be in such vows or such conditions. Otherwise, we cannot be like that. We are otherwise caught in the gravities of tendencies. But on auspicious days, there is a natural provision, natural condition that we are slightly given an escape route. We escape our tendencies on these auspicious days. And that is why we have such days for us to be practicing vratas. So that Anuvrata can be practiced, such as fasting on Ekadashi, fasting on Monday, fasting on Thursday, fasting on Saturday, or not to be in unscrupulous activities on such auspicious days. We don't incline to be doing such things on such auspicious days. So the Kala is so important. And as I said, our culture has therefore made a great provision. It has been magnanimous for us to climb up a rung in human consciousness level. And we can be definitely more pious, more pure by escaping the gravities of vasanas. We escape the gravity of vasanas on Sri Ramanavami, Hanuman Jayanti, Sri Krishnashtami, Narasimha Jayanti, Datta Jayanti. So we escape this. And that is why this is one of the reasons why our religion, our dharma has given so many occasions for us to be escaping the gravities, mundane gravities. So that is Kala. And then Samaya. Samaya is situation. We cannot foresee what are the situations which are going to come in our life. And it is because of the situations that our intensity of vow or our vow itself is violated. It's not that we keep ourselves open to be practicing himsa other times. That's not the psychodynamics of taking vows. We generally don't want to be bad. We generally don't want to be wicked. We don't generally don't want to be troublesome to others. But then it happens. It happens because of dynamics of mundane life. And that is why they are violated. So why vratas are violated when it is anuvrata? It is not because I have freedom not to be in vrata, but it gets violated. That is how it has been seen. And it's not that Kshatriya is free to be killing anyone outside the battlefield. No, generally one should not be wanting to be killing others or harming others, but then it happens. So this is how the dharma concept has been given. Adharma and dharma is differently defined because of the situations in life. Our dharma is not a kitchen orthodoxy set of rules are given, do's and don'ts, etc., and practice anywhere. It doesn't happen. Nobody can be practicing that. And so also it doesn't really become adharma if it is violated because of certain situations where mortal becomes helpless, hapless, hopeless. There is no other way, and that is why the goodness gets violated within us. It's not that we can be bad all other times and only good in particular condition. That's not why. That is not how the vratas are taken up or vows are taken up. They are not vows. Practices can be like that, but vows are not like that. So the anuvrata has been described, which is limited by jati, desha, kala, samaya. And therefore, when it is the limiting factors do not delimit it, and then there is no delimitation at all whatsoever, and then this is not possible for a layman, common man, worldly man. So we can understand who and where, who can practice Mahavrata and where. Who and where is so important for Mahavrata. So it's a different life to be in Mahavrata. Mortals like you and me cannot be in Mahavrata because we don't put restrictions on our movements. So for Mahavrata, it is such a kind of life that you will not find this man anywhere, anytime. That's called Sanyasta Dharma. Yati Dharma, Sanyasta Dharma. And then that is the Mahavrata which is possible for exceptional few. But Anuvrata can be in different degrees. There are some Anuvrata because it is flexible concept. So how Anu and how greater than Anu? It's all Anu. It is not Mahavrata. So we can slowly try to understand what is our qualification, what is our caliber, what are our potentials, and then we can decide upon taking these Anuvratas. So when they start coming more and more frequently, Anuvratas come frequently, our Anuvrata will become more and more pervasive. And that's how we can be slowly inculcating the dharma of ahimsa, dharma of satya, dharma of asteya. These are not practices. Each one of these is dharma here. Ahimsa dharma, satya dharma, asteya dharma, brahmacharya dharma, aparigraha dharma. So as we qualify gradually, when we improve our fabric of consciousness, evolve our fabric of consciousness, which is more and more by purity, piety, sanctity, then the vratas can be becoming more and more pervasive. So this sutra is telling us about Anuvrata and Mahavrata. And final statement of Vyasa, Sarva Bhumeshu, Sarva Visheshu. See again such a forensic skill here. Sarva Bhumeshu, Sarva Visheshu, Sarvathaiva, Avidita, Avyabhicharaha, Sarvabhauma, Mahavratam iti uchyate. So, because this is something like, law formed. So by law, when they make law, the language is so precise, so perfect, that there are no loopholes available. No loopholes can be created even. So this is the place where no loopholes can be created by human psyche. So that's how he has described the Mahavrata as well. And this should be understood to be in Ahimsa, Satya, Asteya, Brahmacharya, Aparigraha, and then Shauchadi Niyamas as well. You can't be in just one Mahavrata. You can't say, I will be in Ahimsa Mahavrata and rest of the vratas can be violated. No. If it is a Mahavrata, no vrata will be violated. And it will be vrata circumscribing the entire Yama Niyamas. So it is not only Ahimsa Anuvrata, Ahimsa Mahavrata, Satya Anuvrata, Satya Mahavrata. This has to be understood here. So that's the difference between just practices and dharma. When it comes to practice, you can say, I'm going to practice Ahimsa very well. Satya is left to err. Others are left to err. They get violated and we don't bother about it. But in case, if it is a Mahavrata, this is not possible. Mahavrata circumscribes every vrata to be in dharma. Yoga is a dharma. Yoga is not a practice. For us, it is a practice. But for a yogi, it is not a practice. It is not lifestyle. It is life itself. Yoga is a life for a yogi. So we have to understand for us what is the dosage of these yamas and niyamas. And whatever can be put up, and little more with intent, we can perhaps be more stringently observing these. And that's why Anuvrata should be adhered to. And we have so many opportunities here. Auspicious days coming up, festivals coming up. The whole world knows that Navaratri, there are ordinary mortals like you and me who fast for 9 days, which is not possible outside the gravity of Navaratri. For 9 days they observe Mauna Vratam. Outside Navaratri, it will not be possible. So we are given the special culture, special gravity of the culture, that on Navaratri, they will be doing something for 9 days and 9 nights. Ordinary mortals have followed certain vows of observing silence or observing a fast or putting restriction, and they are very comfortable in their restrictions. Not being Navaratri, you can't ask them to do in some 9 days and night observe it. They will not be able to do, because we don't have radiation of the atmosphere which we have on Navaratri, which we have on Krishnashtami, Sri Ramanavami, Hanuman Jayanti, Narasimha Jayanti, Vamana Jayanti, Datta Jayanti, all so many auspicious days, Ekadashi, Mahashivratri. So that's how our culture should be also understood. It is so contributing to the practicing vratas. Okay.
Okay. So that completes Sutra 2.31, and moving on to 2.32, where after having looked at the yama, we look at the niyama. So the sutra is Shaucha Santosha Tapaswadhyayeshwara Pranidhanani Niyamaha. So just like the yamas were listed, this sutra enumerates the niyama as Shaucha Santosha Tapa Swadhyaya Ishvara Pranidhanani Niyamaha. Now, the Tapaswadhyaya Ishvara Pranidhanani, these three we have already dealt with in the context of Kriya Yoga near the beginning of the chapter. And there we described each of these terms. So I would like to refer you to that session as well, because we have gone in quite some detail of what is Tapa, what is Swadhyaya, and what is Ishvara Pranidhanam. And we'll probably not go into as much detail here, other than what is there in the Sutra and the Bhashya. So that is one reference I just wanted to mention. The other thing that we had mentioned when we looked at the Sutra on the Ashtangas, Yama, Niyama, Asana, Pranayama, etc., we had said that the Niyama is generally taken to be more Vidhi Rupa. So among the Vidhi Nisheda, that is do's and don'ts, the Niyama fall more on the lines of the do's. So these are the Vidhis. Niyamyante, Kriyante, Nitaram Yamyante iti Niyamaha. So this is something one adopts, practices all the time. Those are the Niyamas. So which are those? There are Shaucha, Santosha, Tapa, Swadhyaya and Ishvara Pranidhanam. So that is the Sutra. Now with this background, let's look at the Bhashya. So Vyasa says, Tatra Shaucham Mrujjaladi Janitam Medhyabhyavaharanadi Cha Payam Abhyantaram Chittamalanam Akshalanam. So this is quite a comprehensive and deep sentence, but mentioned in very brief. And here Vyasa undertakes the task of defining and characterizing each of the niyamas. So the Shaucha, it talks in terms of Bahya and Abhyantara. So external or outwardly and internal or inwardly. So what is the Bahyam? It is Mrujjaladi Janitam Medhyabhyavaharanadi cha Bahyam. So the removal of impurities based on dust and maybe impure water and so on. So basically the cleaning of the body like we do in terms of having a bath and so on, and all kinds of external purification is the Bahyam. Then the Grahanam of Pavitra Padarthas. There are certain Pavitra Padarthas by tradition, even things like honey and turmeric and so on. And the Amedya Samsarga Vivarjanam. So what is not pure? Staying away from those. So certain items by tradition and so on is considered impure, and some are just plainly considered dirty also. So staying away from them. So these are this is the Bahya Shaucha in terms of conduct and also contact with the material things. So the discretion in which material things to be in contact with in terms of ahara, vihara, achar, vichar and all of that, and gravitating towards the pure ones, going away from the impure ones, and of course standard cleanliness, which is having a bath and so on, mrujjala adijanitam, we have to remove those, as well as the practices like again by tradition things like sandalwood paste, certain oils and so on, they are meant to clean and purify. So the adopting of all these practices comes under Bahya Shaucha. Then the internal Abhyantara Shaucha is Chittamalanam Akshalanam. So the removal, cleansing, Akshalanam is like cleanse, like the clothes are cleaned. So Akshalanam is to wash and clean and throw away. What? The Chittamalas. The Chittamalam is something that we had seen. So the avidya, asmita, raga, dvesha, abhiniveshaha, kleshaha, they were referred to by the term Chittamalam. So removal of that, as we have seen, is a very deep notion for Shaucha, and it involves inculcating the opposite. So Maitri, Karuna, Mudita, Upeksha and so on. Getting rid of the Shadripus, Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Moha, Mada, Matsaryam. Then incorporating the Shat Sampantis, Shama, Dama, Upariti, Titiksha, Shanti, Samadhana and so on. So all of this falls in the ambit of Shaucham because essentially the removal of chitta mala, if you take it to the extreme, is removal of avidya, which directly reaches viveka khyati and then kaivalyam. So the shaucham as a vrata is more about being very conscious of the outwardly things that cause impurities and the inwardly the parts of the mind that again creates vasanas and other kleshas and impurities in the mind. So not having all of that is shaucha. So various kinds of practices will be done for the vrata, that is shaucham. And also we had seen this analogy, if you remember, is akshipatra iva yogi. So it is the eyeball like yogi, where elsewhere you may find a feather touch pleasant, but when the feather touches the eyeball, it causes pain. So for the yogi, as we had seen, any touch of uh, the karmas that generate the karmashaya and the klesha, which we had seen in a more siddhantic setting where we were looking at the notion of karmashaya and the prakriti and the karma siddhanta, that is relevant here in terms of shaucha, because it is about chittamalanam akshalanam and being very very attentive to this. Is any impurity arising and preventing all of that, both from external aspects as well as internal aspects, is the niyama, that is shaucha.
So the niyamas have been commenced. Shaucha santosha tapaswadhyayeshwara pradhanani niyamaha. Again, shaucham is a technical word here, and shaucha should be retained as shaucha, as we have done that while dealing with the yamas. We should not venture to translate it into any other language. It's not cleanliness that is being mentioned. And even the cleanliness, you should understand with respect to embodiment. When it comes to cleanliness, where body is clean or body is cleaned, but there is some step that can be taken beyond as well, purified. The body can be purified. Body can be cleaned by going to bathroom, etc., taking body wash, mouth wash, head wash, face wash, leg wash, etc. Wash the whole body. But then, with regards to body, it is something much more than that. That it can be purified. Inanimate things can be only kept washed and kept clean. We don't try to go to purify it. But understand, in our culture, we don't only keep the house clean, we can also go for purification of the house. House can be purified. House can be sanctified. House can become pure, pious, sanct. So it's a different idea, different notion that is being mentioned, and it should not be rendered as cleanliness. Now this shaucham is twofold, bahir shaucha and antah shaucha. Balya shaucha means it has been described in the Vyasa's comment you heard just now, Bhut Janadi Janitam. So that is cleaning and washing the body. But it doesn't stop there. It goes beyond in Vyasa's comment. Even the pure food and sanctified food, etc., is to be taken. When we consume food, water, etc., it should be also not only good food, it should not be only pure food, but sanctified, pavitram. So that is what he has expressly mentioned in his comment, that our food, etc., intakes, etc., should be pavitra and pure, shuddha. So that is how the Bahya Shaucha is. So it is not just hygiene. It goes beyond. It's not only taking clean food and pure food, but the food that will purify us. That will purify our body, that will purify our organs, that will purify our body matter. So understand, purificatory aspect is considered with a greater radius than what is there in cleanliness of hygiene. So that's the Bahya Shaucha. Our body is said to be Navadvara Puri. It's an embodiment, a citadel of 9 gates. And each of these gates have dirt. And therefore, we need to be keeping clean all these 9 gates. Sometimes we clean our eyes, there is dirt in the eyes. There is typical dirt of the eyes, typical dirt of the ears, typical dirt of the nostrils, etc., typical dirt of the mouth. So these gates have their own typical dirt. So all that is circumscribed in Bahya Shaucha. So Bahya Shaucha is also quite extensive. And this is Mrud Jaladi Janitam. Traditionally, something was used to clean the body. Like today we use the soap. So when the body is cleaned and we use certain substances to be cleaning the body matter, body wash. For body wash, we use certain things. Today we are using soap, etc. So the Mrut is circumscribing all those agents with which we clean our body matter, peripheral body matter, and then by food, etc., internal body matter. Our bath will not purify our organs. Bathroom bath will not purify the organs, but the organs are also to be purified. So organs are not to be kept maintained and keep them functional, but we also have to clean them. And this is considered in yoga given greater importance to it also. So in the cleaning of body, so both are classed as external purification, external shaucha. Although it is cleaning internal body, it is external shaucha. Then abhyantara is chittamalanam akshalanam. Chittamala. The malai, the dirt of the mind, impurity of the mind, the dirt of the mind. Malais, etc., shadripus, etc., avidyadi, etc. So these are all dirts of chitta. Avidyadi kleshas, kama krodhadi shadripus. So these are all dirts of the mind. And you should recall that when we were dealing with chitta prasadana topic in the first chapter, Maitri, Karuna, Mudita, Upekshanam, etc., etc., it was considering the chitta mala. So those were the practices to mitigate chitta mala. Kalushya, that is called chitta kalushya. So in yoga, see how deep thought has gone in. Usually we say, I have a good mind. Everyone claims I have a very good mind. I am not vicious person. I am a person with a good mind. But there is a chitta kalushya. That means with regard to particular person, we have these things bubbling up, malais bubbling up, jealousy bubbling up. Usually we don't have jealousy for anyone and everyone. But then we have it. It is reserved for a particular person. And then it comes up. And then it plays havoc. It dirts our chitta, dirts our mind. So in yoga, we have to consider that as well. Generally, we are friendly to everyone. Generally, we have compassion for everyone, etc., etc. But if you recall that sutra, Chitta Kalushya, while we are dealing with Maitri, Karuna, Mudita, Upeksha. So again, I suggest you should go back to that sutra and try to understand. This is not practice friendliness and compassion. It is Chitta Kalushya. It is to counter something which is reserved for a particular person, particular thing, particular situation, that it flares up. the dirt flares up. So that is the Abhyantara Shaucha. Let me tell you, we are civilized people of our times now, and many of us have this habit of saying, somebody gives something, somebody gives you a gift or something, and say, oh, this I love very much. This is the thing that I love the most. My most loving thing. We are used to say expression, and we think we compliment that person and we give delight to that person who has gifted that. But if you have something of that nature, that you love this the most, it should be understood that human psyche is made up of such constitution that you are also having detest and dislike for something. When you like something, you also dislike something. When you dislike something to a very great extent, you also dislike something and hate something to that extent. So this is what the yoga psychology tells us. Don't have such thing in your life. Oh, this you like the most. If you dislike like this the most, that means you like that, you dislike that the most. You hate something the most. So these are polarities. We are vulnerable to polarities. But in our decencies, we are used to this. Oh, I like you very much. I like this very much. This is the thing that most liked by me, or this is the person I like the most. When you like a person the most, you also hate someone the most. So that's why in yogic culture, we are not supposed to be vulnerable to polarities. All the indecencies, these are wonderful things. Somebody gives you a party and offers you delicacy. Oh, this is my beloved. This is my loving delicacy. That means you also hate something. You should not be hating something, because that is giving room for malais, chitta kalushya. So this concept of internal shaucha with reference to yoga in yogic practices is something that needs to be given special attention. Abhyantara shaucha in yoga. Now this is a level where your niyamas are not practiced, but there is anusthana. There is anusthana. Understand the caliber of purified mind, purified mind and purification of the mind. It is exalted. It's not just practice of Shaucha Santosha Swadhyaya. It is Anusthana of Shaucha Santosha Swadhyaya. So caliber of this purified mind, psyche, consciousness, the purified body is altogether different. And it's not just purified, it must be sanct. It must be pious. It should be Shuddha, Parishuddha, and Pavitra. So first you have to go for de-dirtification of body and mind. External body, external mind. De-dirtification, if I may say so. And then, so it is free from being dirty. Then that is not be all and end all. Then it must be pure. It must be purified. And then it must be also Pavitra. It should be Shuddha. It should be Pavitra. And then there is no limit for something to be Pavitra. So Pavitrya, Ashuddhi, Kshaya, Shuddhi, and Pavitrya. This is what is to be understood in concept of Shaucha. Okay.
So we'll stop here for today and continue on this sutra and the bhashya in the next session. So let's recite the slokas on Guruji and stop. Vaijñānikam pravaktritva asaneshu kalavidam yogābhyāse ca tattvajñam vandeham sundaram gurum yogavruksho hi lokesmin yat preranena vardhitah yogacharya guru tubhyam sundaraya namo namaha. Thank you.
Namaskar all of you.